There are thousands upon thousands of videos here on YouTube all about minimalism and all about the really obvious benefits that it brings, the same things that everybody experiences, like having a clean, clutter-free home or having more spending money in your pocket, and I've even made a couple of those videos myself. But in this particular video, I want to look at things a little bit differently and talk about 6 less obvious benefits of minimalism. 6 benefits that were unexpected and that go a little bit deeper than just having nothing on your kitchen counters. Let's get into it. The very first and maybe most important benefit of minimalism that I didn't expect was more freedom. As I said, people talk about having less clutter, they talk about having more money, but what they don't talk about is what that actually means. And what it actually means is more freedom. The clutter, the things, the money, those are all just a means to an end. What we're really looking for here is opportunity. And by having less clutter and having more money, you have more opportunity to pursue things that are important to you. Whether that means going after a different job that maybe earns a little bit less money, maybe that means going after an early retirement, which was kind of what I'm hoping for. Maybe that means traveling. It just gives you more opportunities and more open doors, because by eliminating how much money you're spending on things and how much stuff you feel you need to pay for, you have extra money to allocate to different things or to allow you to take bigger risks. I do a lot of thinking about decision making. I think a lot about all of the various decisions I've made in my life, big and small, that have brought me to where I am today, for better or for worse, and about how much thought I've put into each of those, how many of those decisions were really well planned versus how many of them were just kind of flippant, and most importantly, how many of those decisions were made out of fear and out of taking the practical route versus pursuing something that maybe is more important to me but maybe riskier. And so sure, minimalism may allow you to save more money or to spend less money or to accumulate less things, but really the important part is the safety cushion that gives you to be able to take bigger risks and pursue things that otherwise you maybe don't have the opportunity to pursue. Another thing that minimalism has helped me with a lot is to be less judgmental and more open-minded. I'll be totally honest here for a moment and say that I tend to default to being a pretty judgmental person. I also do believe that a lot of us are. I think most of us are, and I think that if you say that you're not judgmental, you're probably just lying to yourself. We all look around at life and look at different people who do things differently than we do, and we cast judgments about them. Even if we're not forming specifically negative opinions, we're definitely judging whether or not we think people do things the right way. If they do things differently than we do, we judge the decisions that people make or the way that they live their lives. And minimalism has allowed me to really take a step back and look at the fact that people probably judge a lot of the things I do too, and the things that are, to me, objectively right or wrong may be completely subjective and may be completely different to somebody else. Somebody may come into my home and they may look at the way that I live and think that I'm doing something wrong, or that I'm being too cheap, or that I'm living in a weird way because I don't own certain things, like maybe because I don't own a TV or I don't have a lot of furniture. And they may be casting judgments about the way that I live as wrong or improper. And that's not inherently true, because the way that I live is the way that I want to live, and I do it because it's what makes me happy. And so being a minimalist has allowed me to put that same lens over everybody else's life too, and think about things that I see other people do that I may not agree with or may not be how I want to live my life, but to understand that to them, that may be what makes them happy, and whatever floats their boat is totally fine by me. And so having this different perspective, allowing me to see that there are different lifestyles for different people, and that nothing is inherently right or wrong as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's a big caveat. Don't hurt anybody else, don't hurt animals, don't hurt people. But as long as you are living in a way that is not doing any harm or causing any suffering, that there isn't really an absolute right or wrong or black or white in most situations. And so being more open-minded and being less judgmental has not only helped my relationships and my friendships and my people skills, but has helped me as a person to not put so much thought into other people in things that are not my business and things that are not important. Another unexpected benefit of minimalism that I've experienced is an increased appreciation and gratitude for the things that I do have. I think that as you start to dive into the lifestyle that is minimalism, and you start to recognize the things that you need and the things that you don't need, you recognize how little you can actually get by with while still having a good quality life, and how many of the exterior things are really unnecessary and excess. But you start to really have an appreciation for the value that's brought to you by the things that you do have and the things that you do actively choose to bring into your life. You recognize that maybe you don't need to have things that are the flashiest or the fanciest or the newest or the most expensive, but to really appreciate the things that you do have and the value that they bring you. I'll use my phone as a really good example. I'm currently using an iPhone 7. It's very outdated. I think the iPhone is on like the iPhone 13 or something now. I don't even know. But the point is that this is far from the newest, greatest, best phone. However, it does everything that I need it to do, and I've learned to really appreciate the fact that it gives me the opportunities that it gives me. It allows me to keep in touch with my friends and family. It allows me to run my business. It allows me to take photos of Levi. It does everything I need of it, and I really have an appreciation for the fact that I have what I have, and it doesn't make me feel like I need something newer or better. And not only that, but it's also taught me to take care of the things that I have. I recognize that by taking care of my phone, taking care of my car, taking care of my house, I can keep things in better condition. I can keep them in my life for longer. It'll actually save me money down the line. And I've just learned to have a better respect and an appreciation for everything that I do have in my life, and just to feel more gratitude overall. And that leads me to the next point, which is having less desire to compare yourself to others, having less care about what other people think of you, because spoiler alert, they're not thinking of you at all, and just a general sense of reduced anxiety. I think that so many of us, whether we're even aware of it or not, feel this need to compete with our peers, and that if somebody gets something nice, then we have to get something nicer, and if somebody gets something new, then we have to get something newer, and if we only have this but someone has this, well then we need to have that too. And it's exhausting, and you can spend your whole life running on this treadmill and just not getting anywhere, chasing after these material things that are not going to change your life in any way, shape, or form. Because let me tell you something, there will always be people, no matter what you have, no matter how much you have in life, there will always be people who have nicer things than you, who have more than you, and who will look down at you for not having what they have.
It's a hybrid. Well, good for you. Oh, thanks.
It doesn't matter what level you're at. And it's an exhausting race, and it's a completely unnecessary race. So it's okay if somebody has a nicer car than you, and it's okay if someone lives in a fancier house than you. As long as you have everything you need, as long as you have food and water and shelter and family and friends and Levi, it just gives you this reduced sense of almost this feeling that you can kind of just go and just step off the treadmill. You know, it's really exhausting running in place, running after these arbitrary goals, thinking you're gonna get closer and closer, and every time you get just that close to the goal line, it moves a little bit further. There's a dramatic sense of peace that comes with being satisfied with what you have and not caring what anybody else thinks of it. Another benefit that I've seen from living a more minimalist lifestyle has been the ability to have more rest, more relaxation, and more sleep. I am a big sleeper. To me, sleep is one of the most important things in the world, and I will absolutely give up other plans or turn things down to be able to have more rest. And minimalism has actually been an integral part of that. By questioning my beliefs, by questioning what's important to me and what I need, and how much time I actually have to work, and how much money I actually have to earn, and how many things I actually want to buy, and how much stuff I actually have to put away and clean up and take care of, by being really able to kind of comb through all of that and audit all of that and minimize all of that, I've given myself the ability to have more downtime, to spend more time relaxing, to not feel guilty for coming home and lying down on the couch after work because I don't have to clean up my house that's a disaster, and I don't have to feel like I have to work just one more hour or take on just one more client or make just one more dollar. And I guess at the core, this all comes back down to that gratitude point I was making initially, but it's just about being able to give yourself permission to relax, to be able to have less things to worry about, less things taking up your time, and being able to go to bed a little bit earlier or sleep in a little bit later, or both. And you'd be absolutely shocked how much of a difference 1 extra hour of sleep every night can make. It gives you more energy, it makes you more productive, it puts you in a better mood, and it just makes everything a little bit less stressful. So ask yourself what you really need. Ask yourself how much money you really need to live on. Ask yourself how many things you really need to buy and how much stuff you really want to have to take care of and clean and maintain. And ask yourself if you'd rather just sleep a little extra, because I know myself, I always take the sleep, always. And finally, the sixth benefit that I never expected to see from minimalism is an increased sense of awareness about society as a whole, about our spending habits as a culture, about consumerism and capitalism, and about how much stuff is just constantly being rammed down our throats at every moment of every day. It's really opened up my eyes to see how many advertisements we're bombarded with, and how much of the stuff that we're told we need, we really don't need at all. I sometimes find myself walking through shopping malls and looking around me and recognizing how many of the stores, how the vast majority of the stores are selling things that nobody actually needs. They're selling knickknacks and trinkets and collectibles, or they're selling you tech gear that does the exact same thing as the tech gear that you already have, but maybe just a tiny bit faster or a tiny bit better, and they're convincing you that you need it. Or they're selling you fast fashion that is basically like single-use clothing, or they're selling you fast food that's just gonna make you sick. None of this stuff is necessary. The vast majority of stores in malls don't need to exist. But their entire business model is predicated on the idea of convincing you that you need these things, convincing you to take the money that you've spent hours working to earn and to spend it on things that aren't actually going to do anything and aren't actually going to improve your life. And I'm not saying that there aren't merits to buying things that you like, even if you don't specifically need them. All I'm saying is that if you take a step back and you look around, you'll find that the vast majority of things that exist, the vast majority of products that are manufactured, are things that nobody actually needs. And we are mining the earth of its resources to make these things that have no fundamental purpose, and that people probably don't actually want even, but they have been subconsciously taught that they want. And so we go and we work really hard and we spend all our time at our jobs to earn this money, and then we spend it on these things that don't actually serve any purpose and that we then eventually forget about or throw in the garbage, and it's all been for nothing. I sometimes wonder if I'm the only person that sees things this way, if I'm just being overly pessimistic, and I certainly don't mean to be, but when I look around, I just really find myself asking why, and I suppose that that is the underlying theme of this video, is that the most unexpected benefit of all that minimalism has brought me is the ability to ask myself why I do the things that I do, why we all do the things that we do, and should we actually be doing them? If you consider yourself to be a minimalist or just generally somebody who lives a more simple, intentional, mindful lifestyle, I would love to know if there's any sort of perks or benefits that you've experienced that you weren't expecting. Anything that has stood out to you along your journey. So please, by all means, drop me a comment down below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video or you found it at all helpful or valuable or even just entertaining, please go ahead and hit that like button. Every like I get helps the channel out tremendously, and I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing as well. I make videos about minimalism, personal finance, investing, and all sorts of other interesting things like that. So hit that subscribe button down there, and that way you won't miss out on all my future stuff. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. I really, really do appreciate it, and I mean that. I'll see you next week. Take care.
Can I help you?
I'd like to get my ear pierced.
Well, better make it quick, kiddo. In 5 minutes, this place is becoming a Starbucks.